Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I made this in Blender. Like always, let's get started with the mesh. Delete the default cube and Shift A to create a cube. Subdivide the cube with Ctrl 1, then increase the increment to 3 and apply the modifier. Tab into Edit mode. Go into wireframe mode and turn on proportional editing. You can move stuff around with G and scale them up or down with S. Control the axis of where the command happens on by pressing X or Y or Z. To make the ears, select the surface at the top and press E to extrude them out. Make sure that you're set to individual origin here. Then scale them down to make the tip with S. Here, I'm using Shift-Option-S to make the neck more round. By the way, I added another subdivision modifier here, but don't apply it to keep the geometry simpler in edit mode. Now onto the tail. Again, create a cube and subdivide it. Extrude half of it out in edit mode with E. Create some loop cuts with Ctrl R and move sections of it into place to form the curve. Now onto the material. Shift A to add a sun. Change from timeline to shader editor and add a material. Now add a color ramp and a shader to RGB. Then connect them this way. Duplicate these nodes with Shift D. We'll be using these for texture painting later. Add a mix shader and connect the outputs of the two materials. Tab into edit mode, select everything with A and press U to Smart UV unwrap. Since the geometry is fairly simple, not much work is needed here. Now go into texture painting. Add a new texture and make sure to change the color to black. This added a new node, which will be connecting to the factor of the mix shader. I changed the viewport to better see where I'm drawing. Note that the colors are not the material created. You can control the radius up here or by pressing F. To erase something, hold down Control. If we change the viewport back, you can see that these are the materials created from earlier. I also added a black material to the tail. With the default material, set the color to black and the roughness to 1. This way, no light will be reflected. Shift A to create a grease pencil with line art. This creates a grease pencil object with a line art modifier. We can adjust the settings in the modifiers. Before that, make sure to add a camera to see the outlines. I also changed from contour to individual silhouette, which generates lines from the individual silhouettes of the objects. Make sure to uncheck the crease, which generates strokes where the edge angle is small enough. Also, uncheck the intersection, which generates strokes where lines intersect between faces. I also added a noise modifier. These are the final settings I have for noise. These settings control how much noise is added to the position, strength, and thickness. I then duplicated this line art and changed the material to white, and then adjusted the noise modifier. Later on, I also decided to add a dot dash modifier. This is the final setting I have. This modifier breaks the line art into sections. Now, create a blank grease pencil object. Go into Draw mode. Change from origin to surface and set the offset to 0.01. You can choose to check in front under the viewport display so the grease pencil drawings always appear in front. And then check Stabilize Stroke under the brush setting with the radius set to 10 px, which will, well, stabilize your strokes. You can adjust the radius and the strength of the brush at the top. You can also turn on Use Pressure here if you are using a tablet to draw. Here, I'm adding a new material for the eyes. I also checked the fill and changed the color to white. If your drawings look like this, you can uncheck Use Light under Layers. Note that you can also tab into Edit mode and adjust the shape position of the drawings like normal mesh. Change from surface to 3D cursor. Now whatever you draw will be based on the position of the cursor. The view here means that the drawing will exist on the plane parallel to your view. You can also change it to front view, top view, etc. Place the 3D cursor with this tool and start drawing. By the way, you can also add a noise modifier for the grease pencil drawings as well. And that's pretty much it for grease pencil drawing. Now on to animation. First, tab into Edit mode and select the parts that will be animated. Hover over them and press L. Then press P to separate selected. This separates the selected into a new object. Now do the same for the other parts like the eyes and mouth. After that, select one of the grease pencil objects in object mode and tab into Edit mode. Then I just scaled the eyes into shape. Make sure that you are set to individual origin for this. Turn on auto keyframing so whenever the grease pencil is changed, its new position will be saved. If you play the animation now, you might have noticed that it just switches between the two states. With interpolation, we can fix this. I duplicated the keyframe that contained the shocked expression and moved it after the keyframe I had just made. In Edit mode, make sure you're in between the two keyframes you want to interpolate. Press A to select everything in the scene. At the top, under Grease Pencil, click on Interpolation Sequence. This creates a keyframe on every frame. Now you'll see that the animation is much smoother. Then just do the same for all the other parts. For these, I keyed in 2 frames that hide and show them by going to Object Properties and keying the frames shown in the viewport and renders. Then moving to the beginning of the timeline, uncheck these 2 and key in another frame. This way, the grease pencil is hidden for the first half of the animation. To render this, I turned on Transparent under Film and click Render Animation at the top. After this, open up a new Blender window and choose Video Editing. In the timeline below, Shift A to add an image or sequence. After that, you can add whatever background you want. I simply added this plain yellow background with Shift A. Adjust the end frame of the animation. And again at the top, click Render Animation. That's pretty much it for this tutorial. Hope you found it helpful. If so, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. See you next time.